All right, I'm going to go ahead and kick this meeting off. So my name is Donna Dubuque. I am the budget director for facilities and business operations. And I have Alyssa Cruz with me. She is the director of reliability. And the purpose of this meeting is we are going to introduce to you a new approval workflow that has been implemented with our AiM ReADY system. So the AiM ReADY system is what is used to process work orders. And currently, work orders do not flow to the cost center managers for work tag approval before the ISD is processed in Workday. This new process will generate an email to the cost center managers that will then direct them into AiM, where they can state whether they approve the work tags in the work order, or whether they want to deny it, or if they have to make some changes to the work tags. It's kind of similar to the emails that you all get from TPC now. And so Alyssa is going to kind of do a demo of what that looks like. And what I do want to emphasize is that this is primarily for the cost center managers, because they are the audience that's going to be receiving those emails.
Thank you, Donna. Hi again, I'm Alyssa Cruz. I'm the Director of Reliability and Logistics here at Facilities Operations. Just to kind of mirror what Donna said, this is a cost center manager approval. It's a step in the workflow when someone requests a chargeable work order. What it's going to do is route to the cost center manager. The cost won't be on there, but what we're asking the cost center managers to do is to provide approval before proceeding, making sure that the work tags are correct. So by the time the work is done, that it's billing the correct account extensions. And so I will share my screen and I will start the demonstration. I want to start off here with showing you our facilities operations website. It's fo.ucf.edu. You all don't, as cost center managers, don't necessarily need to go to this website, but what I wanted to do is walk you through the whole process, someone who is requesting it, how it gets routed to you, and then how it turns into a work order. Right now on our facilities operations website, here it's a work request form, and that's where the requester will go in. Some of you all as cost center managers may also be the requester, so I just wanted to show you this step. From here, you could put in your email address, but we request that you do the single sign-on, and then it goes from there. I already have this set up, and actually let me show you what it looks like. This currently is what these are called request tiles. There's an event services request and there's submit a work request. When you click on here, this is our production environment. So I'm going to go over to our test environment. You will only see this here, submit a work request. You won't see all the rest of this. Again, as a requester, just to reiterate, we ask if it's very urgent that you actually call our work control center. Anything else that can wait, we request that this form is filled out. And just to show you real quick, it should automatically fill in your information based on your profile. Select which building it is. You can select a floor or not, depending on where the situation is. This description of the request is what you're asking for. I need the suite painted next month, as an example. Ask, is this a chargeable request? If the requester is not sure, we have a link to Facilities and Business Operations Guide to Services, which is here. This is also on our website, and again, the link goes right to it. This is a flip guide for some of you that may have not seen it before, that kind of goes through what an actual chargeable request is. Here's our chargeable services. So if you think it is, or the requester is, they say yes. Are you an external customer? Those are people that are external to the university that don't have Workday work tags. I won't go into that because that's not cost center manager approval. So I'd say no. As the requester, these cost centers are automatically brought in, fed through Workday. Because this demo, I'm going to use my cost center because I'm going to be an approver for this one. From here, this next screen, it automatically in the default work tags from Workday. If you feel like they're wrong or you need to change them, you can change them at any time as the requester or the cost center manager. And it is really just here by either clicking and scrolling through or by typing it in. So again, these are the default work tags that come from Workday. You can add the additional account extensions if you choose to or if you need to. You hit next. From here, you will look and you will review and just make sure all your information is correct that you put in. Here are all the work tags, just as another double check. You can hit previous if you decide that you need to edit it, but I'm going to go ahead and hit submit. From here, what will happen, and I'm going to put this on the screen. You will not see all this. This is me as I'm a super user of the system, which is why you see more than what you will see. But what I want to pull up here is to show you when a request is put in, you get an email that says you received the work request with that work request number. This link will take you right back to the request if you ever need to reference it. From here, the other thing that you'll see as a cost center manager, you will get this email. It says you have been assigned a task of the cost center approval for this request. Again, you will click this link. It will take you right to our AiM ReADY system. And you will see this screen here. And here it is where it says, what is the request? Is it chargeable? It'll always say yes if it's coming to you. And then here are all the work tags for you to review. At this point in time, again, there's no cost associated, but at least you can determine whether or not there's even budget for a request like this. And again, making sure that the work tags are correct. If you think that if you look at them and you say that they're correct, you can just hit funding approve and it'll move forward. But what I want to show you is if there is something that needs to be changed, you hit this edit button. And from here, this is all grayed out because it's the original request. We don't want you to be able to change what they're requesting. You can come in here, and if you decide that maybe it's not chargeable, that can be changed as well. But really what's going on here is this next button is where you want to review what the cost centers are. If you decide that the program should be different, we want this building maintenance. You can go through and you can change. I'm just going to go ahead and change them to anything at this point. You can change them to what you feel is most appropriate for this request if it's not part of your default work tags. From here, you hit next. And again, it's going to ask you to review and make sure that the work tags are again correct that you chose. And you will submit it. From here, it actually goes to our work control center with our dispatchers. They will review it and either reject it or create a work order from that request. Something else that I want to show you with this, though, is I'm going to show you another one. I'm again testing this. As a requester, I put in a different request for the chemistry building. And what it is, it's going to, because it says it's a chargeable request. So again, this is a new request coming to a cost center manager. And if you're looking at it and you're saying, you know, we don't have budget or you need to have more conversation with the requester, you can also choose to ask for them to revise it, or you can just reject it flat out. When you choose revise, it's going to ask you for a comment. And then that's where you can put something in here. So we need to further discuss, we don't have budget for this. Again, you can flat out reject it and it will kill the workflow. Or if you hit revise here and you hit save, it will bounce back to the requester. So if you don't want to completely kill it and you want the requester to have more conversation with you and you want it out of your court, again, you can revise it and it'll kick it back. And what I'll show you here, again, I see more than what you will see, but I'm also the requester in this instance. This as the requester, I will see here, if you go to comments, I saw here, why did this get back to us? And it'll say who put the comment as well. As the requester, I can say, maybe me and the cost center manager had a conversation. I could say, as discussed, we agreed to proceed. And then they will resubmit it. When they resubmit it, it will go back to you because we want to make sure that you are actually approving the request. So I'm going to hit resubmit as a requester. And again, now what it is, it's coming back to you. This is, again, I'm a cost center manager in this instance. It's coming back to you and it should, and I just realized that comment didn't come through because I have to reload. It will show you that it comes back. And again, you can review the cost center and the work tags. You can edit them again at this point, or you can say, yep, I approve this funding. One other thing that I want to show you, again, this is another test. As a requester for the library, I put in another request. I'll actually do Milliken Hall again. If you read this and again, you decide that you want to completely kill it, you don't even know who the requester is, you don't know why it's in here. If you hit reject, again, it's going to require a comment. And you hit save. At that point, again, it completely kills the workflow. What will happen is the requester will get an email showing that you took action to that. And what I do want to do is bring up, we have documentation that we are going to distribute after this, but something that I want to show you here is, again, every time something comes to you, you will get an email that says you have assigned the task of cost center approval. Like Donna mentioned, it's the same thing that kind of goes through ServiceNow and IT for you to approve. And I was trying to see here as well. I wanted to pull up another email for you just to show you an example of other emails that you may get. You will not get an email when the work order gets generated. That's for the requester. The only email that you're going to get is to ask you to approve this to move forward. That's kind of it in a nutshell. I could also show you AiM and how it looks as a work order, but the work order itself won't be something that you, again, will necessarily be involved with. It is pretty straightforward. Like I said, you get the email, you click the link, you go here, you either approve, you ask the requester to revise it, or you completely reject it. And again, here is edit, so you can edit the work tags and continue on with the workflow. Does anyone have any questions?
Alyssa, there's some questions in the chat. Michael Bell is asking if the cost center manager can forward that email to someone else for approval.
We need to figure out delegation. So right now we don't have a delegation set up like how you do in Workday. It is, I saw the first question too, are you routing the cost center manager as it's defined in Workday? Yes. And so whatever is defined in Workday is where this will route to. Forwarding it, I do not believe it'll work, but I will write that down to make sure that we address that, especially when people are on vacation. We don't want the request to be held up. I see here there's a question about should the cost center manager, or are you responsible for knowing whether something is chargeable or not? Yes and no. Honestly, a lot of people are a little confused with it. Again, our guide to services does outline what's chargeable and what's outside of our regular facilities operations services. What a lot of people do now is if they're not sure, they wind up putting work tags anyway. And what our work control center and our dispatchers here, they're trained to determine what is chargeable as well. So the dispatcher will actually get it. And even though the requester said it's chargeable, even though the cost center manager says it's chargeable and approved the work tags, the dispatchers still have a final approval. And if it's not chargeable, they will then mark that no and then create a work order and no one will be charged for it at that point. When does this become effective is another question. We are going to go live with this July 1st. And the approval go to the cost center manager as well as the division manager. Donna, I'm not sure how you feel about that on a finance side. I need to look at it from a system perspective. The only problem I see for that is if it's going to two or multiple people, you're all going to get the same email and then you may click and then not see the request because someone else has already forwarded it along. Donna, Would it need to go to the division
I
manager
mean,
as well?
I think that the approval should follow the workday approval. And right now, as I understand it, those are two distinct and separate roles. So I'm inclined to say cost center manager only at this point. If that's something that we need to explore, then we can talk about that on the side.
Can work orders be submitted now under the current system? Is there a deadline to not submit work order for this fiscal? So work orders, regardless of the fiscal year ending, work orders can always be submitted. If it's chargeable, it's just not going to be charged out until July when the fiscal year opens back up. So any chargeable requests that get put in now will be coming from the fiscal year 25 budget. But again, as cost center managers, you will not see this workflow until July 1st.
So Rustic, can you expand on the there are 3 cost center manager levels comment?
Yes, so there's 3 levels. So the cost center manager level 1 is typically, or at least in College of Science, is the budget analyst. The level 2 is the director, and then the level 3 is the dean. And it's all based on dollar amount.
Is that across the university? Does everybody have that same workflow? Because in my unit, we only have one level of cost center manager approval. We have other types. We have another workflow that's the cost center operations manager that goes to operations managers, but I thought that was distinct through to facilities. I would
It
have
sounds like
to.
it's across the university, and then in some may have a 4 and a 5 if it's provost and president.
So Donna, this is Dante.
Hi, Dante.
There are 5 levels and it's based off various thresholds. So as you get to
I
a certain
understand.
amount, it switches over to who has to apply. And those of you who don't have a
Gotcha.
cost center manager 3, it defaults to me. So I'm really hoping everybody gets that filled in. But yes, it is within the system. It's 5 different levels.
We don't have a dollar amount at this point of the approval. So it would just go to the first level of the cost center. It's not capable of looking at a dollar amount and saying it goes to this cost center level. There's no dollar amount tied to it at this point.
Correct. Michael, did you have a question?
Yeah, I have a follow-up to my previous question. So you answered about whether or not it could be forwarded for somebody else to approve, but can they forward it for someone else to review and tell them whether or not the work tags are correct?
I don't believe so, but I will follow up with that. If anything, at this point, it would be more of probably a screenshot that you would email somebody, because the work request is usually it's from the requester and the cost center manager, not necessarily viewable for outside people, if you will, that's not part of the workflow. So I would suggest that it's more of a screenshot asking for a confirmation if it's correct. We will be following up. We have a document that kind of shows step by step. Again, it should be pretty painless. It's, as you saw, it's pretty quick. And again, this is primarily so that we are confirming that the work tags and the account extensions are actually accurate and correct, so that when we do our work order billing, the ISD can run through without errors. I see one more question just came through. Does the cost center manager receive any notice when the amount is known? That's a good question. The cost center manager, as of today, does not. What happens is the requester is the person asking for the work, and facilities is essentially going out, evaluating it, and providing an estimate. Internally, we were talking about what does that look like to get the cost center manager approval. Do we need the cost center manager approval? Is that up to the requester to then get the approval? We're kind of going through that, right, Donna, at this point of what is most appropriate. The other thing that I kind of failed to mention too, as the cost center manager, when you put comments, if you decide that, yes, we have budget for this, but we only have $1,000 or we only have $5,000, or you're only approved up to X amount of money, we would like for you to put that information in if you know it and if you want to put those limits, because that information will then carry over to the work order. And so the shops and the teams within facilities will be able to see that and either know if there's a pre-approval or if an additional approval will be needed at that time. Mr. Rest, I see your hands up.
Work orders are really for like minor projects, right? And so it should be in general small things. And if it's a major project, there's a different process for that,
Yes,
right?
so
Okay.
absolutely correct. And I'm glad
Yeah.
that you clarified that. So a minor project is something that is well over and beyond a normal
Yeah.
small request. Like I mentioned, you want an office suite painted, or your office painted, or the floor replaced in just a room, not a whole building. Once you get into renovations, adding equipment and so forth, that is actually with our planning, design, and construction department. And that would be a minor project request. And there's a whole nother approval process at that point. So Saressa, you make a great point. These all are smaller. I couldn't give you necessarily up to a dollar amount because it really depends on the type of work that's going on and the building that we're doing the work at, because every building's different, right? So we have auxiliary buildings, DSO, and so forth. Not everything falls under, those categories, but to your point, work orders are really for the smaller services. You will not be hit up with $100,000 bill from a work order, or typically you wouldn't. Thank you.